Apache. So the latest version of Eclipse will link into all the different versions of Tomcat. You would just select that, the one that you want, 8.5. I've got 8.5 installed, so I'll just do 9. And in the next screen, what it does is look for the installation folder. You just browse to wherever you installed Tomcat, and then that'll link the two together, create you a little configuration file so that Eclipse knows where to publish things. Now, I've given sort of a very brief overview of it there. It's in more detail with all those screenshots just in that handout on Moodle if you want to have a go at doing it. So whichever version of Tomcat you like, I'd suggest just using 8.5, and then you have as little trouble as necessary swapping between stuff you do here and perhaps on your home machine. It depends on how you want to get your own, how up to date you want to be on your own machine for it. In terms of deploying an app, there is some a review. There's available just in the lab for this week. You'll see something called review.zip. It talks about testapp.zip there. It's actually review.zip. You'll import it in and just using this standard way of importing Eclipse projects in. File import, existing projects, and you'll browse to get the archive to sort of put it in there. Not sort of too much of an issue. In terms of deploying your project, deploying means getting it ready for running, getting it ready so it's running, waiting there on the server. You can either just right-click the project and say run on server, or you can go to your Tomcat and say I want to add this project as a server application. And these are just some of the steps that you go through. Now, it's no sense just sort of putting these up now because you'll have to do this sort of thing in the lab. But there's a stage to go through of actually publishing these. But later on, the URL where it'll be running at, your Tomcat will be running on localhost, and it uses this default port of 8080. It uses 8080 because typically people have got another server installed on their machine which is running on the default 480, which is for websites. If it causes you a problem, all this is configurable. You won't have a problem here at MMU on the machines, but if you've got perhaps something running on 8080 already on your own machine, you can configure that port to be any one that you like. The URL there, localhost 8080, tells it which machine port number to run on. Testapp is the overall project, and that'll load up the index file. So when you do sort of load these things up, by default it'll go to a particular folder and look for index.html and load that up. You can tell it to run a particular servlet direct if you like, or a particular sort of JSP. But the browser that you run it in, it can be Explorer, it can be Firefox, it can be Chrome. You probably know Eclipse has got a built-in browser. Not a very good one. To it. It's enough to be able to run basic web pages, but it hasn't got the full capabilities that Explorer has and Firefox and the like. You can either just say run this application and it will run it in the default built-in browser, but you can also configure Eclipse to say whenever I want to run something, automatically use Firefox or Chrome, whichever one you like. Now the place where these things are located, and we'll just go over that, the file locations, you can have different types of web content on your server. You can have HTML, as all web browsers can. But Tomcat is essentially aimed at running Java applications. Now you can have these as either servlets, which are raw Java. We'll have a look at some of the code just in a second. Or you can have these Java server pages, which look like HTML, but they've got embedded Java inside them. And again, we'll see the difference just later on. This JSP looks very similar to PHP and ASP. Essentially, as I say, it looks like HTML, and then you have a special tag that says, here's some embedded Java, or in the case of ASP, here's some embedded C# or VB script or something like that. They just have tags to embed it, whereas Java works the other way around. It's basically Java with embedded HTML. But we can have all sort of types to it. And the reason we're using Apache is, well, for one thing, it's a free one, as your web server, and also it's one of the few that actually run Java as a server-side language. Certainly, if you try and get running server applications on these free, on what your ISP provides, you can sort of rent space on an ISP. You can run things like PHP on them, no sort of problem. But to get a hold of a free one that runs Java is a bit of a sort of problem. There basically aren't really any about, because it requires a lot of back-end setup for it. So you're down to either setting up your own one on localhost. You can make that available outside if you like, or you can use, we'll do this later on when we do the cloud computing bit, you can use the Google App Engine, which is a cloud service for running the Java apps, or you can go to Amazon and set up a virtual machine on there and set that up for running the Java servlets. Again, all those things will come up later on, and coincidentally a part of the assignment as well, about setting up these cloud services. Making a new project, we'll do this thing just sort of directly in the web. Oh, sorry, in the lab. You just create a new dynamic web project. Be careful there that you don't do one of the Google App Engine projects. It's got to be a dynamic web project that you create. It will probably ask you for the target runtime. If there's more than one web server installed, we can just obviously give it the one that we've got and give it a name, and those are the sort of types of screenshot you could be going through. We'll be doing that just in the lab this week to create new ones. The thing that confuses a lot of people is this sort of screen on where things are at first to work with. Various locations. In test here might be your entire sort of project. Now there's several types of files that you'll get. You'll get servlets, the actual Java files. They're held in the Java resources area, the source, and then possibly in different packages inside there. So that's where our servlets are going to go. Well, there's this folder called web content, which is like the root of your web server. By default, when your browser goes to this particular project, it will look in that web content folder unless you say otherwise. Now, by default, it's going to be looking for index.html inside there, unless you say open up test/hello.html. You just say open up test project, it'll look for that index.html. There are actually other ones that you can put in, and there's what's called a welcome list. You can say that by default the file to open is hello.html. You can specify whatever the default is, and you can specify a list of saying, well, if you can't find index.html, look for index.htm. And if you can't find that, look for index.jsp. And if you can't find that, you can give a whole sort of list of what to look for inside. They are all configured in this special file web.xml. The XML is a configuration file that holds the setup for your application. One of the things in there is the default welcome files to sort of get in for it. But inside this web content, if you want to know where to put your HTML, they set off at this web content level. So just paste any HTML, in fact any JSP as well, just paste directly into the web content folder. The webinf folder is a configuration one. You don't normally have much to do with that. Because the web.xml, the configuration, is generally sort of set for you. You don't really have to do too much playing about with it. But the thing that we may well be interested in fact we definitely will, is this folder called lib inside there, which is where the runtime libraries live. And if Tomcat is looking for a runtime library, such as how to access MySQL, or how to do JSON conversion using the JSON library from Google, any of these external libraries that are needed at runtime just get pasted in there. Now again, I'll tell you in the labs that, but just, because I know not everybody sort of comes along to labs, but if you've got any runtime files that are needed, or you get a runtime error that says, I can't find this class, and it mentions like MySQL or JSON or some sort of external one to the web server, that's where it should be sort of going in that sort of lib folder for it. After that, you're pretty much sort of free. You can put subfolders down. You can have your CSS folder. You can have an images folder to put those sorts of things in if you like. But the default root area is that web content, and that's the same for most web servers. They've all got some sort of default area to sort of work on. The bit there just about setting up. The bit about sort of running your actual application. All this is done automatically. Pretty much grab this in the lab as you do it. That's really just there to do with setting up Tomcat, not